A young woman wakes up in the past, stuck in the body of a new bride in ancient China. The man she is marrying is the great General Zhao, a war hero who loves his giant war horse, Black Wind. There is only one huge problem. She is deeply scared of horses. She thinks they are giant, scary beasts with too many teeth. She must hide her fear from the tough general, while trying to get used to her new life. Along the way, funny mix-ups happen. She tries to ride a small donkey instead, and she slowly falls in love with the grumpy but kind general. They say love is unpredictable, and today's story proves it. Welcome to Romance Crave Stories, where every episode is full of passion, secrets and emotional twists. Let's begin. The red cloth over my head was very itchy. That was my very first thought. My second thought was that my whole body hurt from shaking back and forth. I was sitting inside a small wooden box. It smelled like old flowers and dust. I tried to rub my nose, but heavy gold pins pulled hard at my hair. How did I get here? Just a quiet moment ago. I was walking near a calm river in my own life. I sat down to rest. Now I was awake, dressed in bright red wedding clothes, bouncing along a dirt road. I had fallen into the past. I was in an ancient time, in a completely new body. Before I could even cry, the wooden box stopped with a hard bump. My head hit the back of the seat. Ouch. My lady. A soft voice said from outside the window flap. We are here. The general is waiting for you. The general? Oh no. I was a bride. I reached out a shaking hand and pulled back the red window cloth just a tiny bit. I wanted to see my new husband. Maybe he was a kind man. Maybe he was good looking. Instead of a man, I saw a giant hairy black monster. It had a long face, huge dark eyes, and teeth that looked big enough to bite off my head. Hot air blew out of its nose with a loud, wet sound. It smelled like dirt, old wet grass and warm sweat. Snort. It was a horse. My heart stopped beating. My hands went ice cold. I have a deep, deep fear of horses. They are huge. They are hard to guess. They have hard feet made of bone that can crush a person like a dry leaf. They are simply too big, and they always look like they know something bad that you do not know. I would rather face a pack of angry wild dogs than stand next to a horse. My lady, the maid asked again. The heavy red cloth at the front door of the box was pulled back. Bright light poured in. A tall man stood there. He was dressed in dark red and gold silk. He had broad shoulders, a sharp jaw, and eyes like a cold, dark night. He was very good looking. But I did not care about his face at all. I only cared that he was holding the lead rope of the giant black beast. The horse tossed its heavy head. It let out a high, loud cry that shook my bones. It stomped one huge foot into the dirt road. I pushed myself as far back into the box as I could. I hit the wooden wall with a loud thud. Come out, the general said. His voice was deep and smooth, but very firm. We must go inside the gates. No, I said in a tiny voice. The good-looking man blinked. He looked lost. No. I am not coming out, I said, holding my heavy red headpiece so it would not fall off. Make it go away. The general looked to his left, then to his right. Make what go away? That. I pointed a shaking finger past his shoulder. That giant beast. The horse. Move it away from me. The general looked at his horse. The horse looked at him. The horse chewed on nothing, showing those flat, yellow teeth. Black Wind is my best war horse, the general said. He sounded a bit upset. He is saying hello to his new lady. Tell him hello from me, and then tell him to leave. I yelled, pulling my feet up onto the seat. I hugged my knees tight. He is looking at me like I am a sweet apple. He wants to eat me. A few guards standing near the gate started to laugh, but they stopped fast when the general gave them a sharp, cold look. The general let out a long breath. He rubbed the space between his eyes. My lady, a horse does not eat people. Black Wind is a good animal. He has won many fights for the country. I do not care if he is the emperor himself. I cried out. He is too big. He has too many teeth. If you do not move him away, I will live in this wooden box forever. The general stared at me. He looked at my rich red dress, my heavy gold hairpins, and my pale, scared face. He had fought wild men from the north and won great wars. But he clearly did not know what to do with a bride who was hiding from a horse. You cannot stay in the box, he said slowly. Watch me, I said. Black Wind let out another wet snort. He took a step closer to the box. His big, hairy nose poked right inside the open doorway. I screamed and threw a red silk pillow right at his face. The pillow hit his nose and fell softly. The horse just blinked his big brown eyes and smelled the pillow. Shoo! Go away! Back! I yelled, waving my hands. The general let out a short, quiet laugh. It was a very nice sound, warm and bright. He pulled the horse back by the rope. Black Wind, step back, he said. The big beast took 2 steps away. The general looked back at me. His cold eyes were now soft and full of hidden smiles. He is far away now. I am standing between you and the beast. Will you come out now, my brave bride? I peeked out. The horse was indeed further away, chewing on a bit of green grass. The general stood tall in front of the door, holding out his hand. His hand was rough, filled with thick scars from holding heavy swords. I took a deep breath. My heart was still beating very fast. But looking at his strong back, I felt a tiny bit safer. If he bites me, I am going to bite him back, I said as a clear warning. The general smiled, showing a flash of white teeth. I will make sure he is good. Come. I placed my small hand in his large one. He helped me step down onto the dirt road. My legs felt like soft noodles. I kept my eyes looking right at the general's chest, so I would not have to look at the horse at all. This was my new life. Married to a man who loved fighting and rode a beast I feared more than death. It was going to be a very long, very hard road ahead. As we walked toward the heavy wooden gates of his big home, I heard the loud clop, clop, clop of the hooves right behind us. The worker was leading the horse inside the yard. I grabbed the general's arm tight. I squeezed it with all my strength. He looked down at my hands on his arm. Then he looked at my face. He did not pull away. You really do not like him, he said, sounding like he just learned a new, strange secret. I hate him, I whispered. And I will never, ever get on his back. Not even if the house is on fire. The general laughed again. We will see about that, my lady. We have a lot of time to teach you. Never, I promised. He just led me inside the home, his arm strong and firm under my tight grip. Chapter 1. I woke up feeling very warm. The blankets over me were made of heavy, soft red silk. I blinked my eyes open and looked up at the top of the large wooden bed. Beautiful birds and flowers were cut into the dark wood. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then the smell of sharp pine needles and sweet morning air filled my nose. I remembered. I was in ancient China. I was married to a giant of a man who owned an even more giant horse. I rolled over, and the other side of the big bed was empty. It was neat and cold. My mind went back to our wedding night, just 2 days ago. I had been so scared. I sat on the edge of this very bed, shaking in my red dress. My head was full of worry. What if he was mean? What if he was rough? When he walked into the bedroom, he looked so huge. He took off my heavy gold hairpins, one by one. His large hands were full of thick scars, but his fingers were as light as a falling leaf. I had looked up at him with wide, watery eyes and said, I am very tired, and I miss my quiet river. The great general did not get angry. He did not yell. He just looked at me with his dark, quiet eyes. He gave me a cup of warm water. Then, he gently took 3 large red pillows and placed them in the exact middle of the bed. It was a soft wall between us. He lay down on his side of the pillows, folded his arms and closed his eyes. Sleep, he had said in his deep, smooth voice. You have had a long day, and you met a very big horse. Rest now. He was a true gentleman. That night, and the night after, he stayed on his side of the pillow wall. He let me sleep in peace. He gave me time to get used to my new world. I smiled at the empty side of the bed. Maybe being his wife would not be so bad after all. My new maids came into the room to help me dress. Today was an important day. It was the 3rd day after the wedding. In this ancient place, there is a clear rule. On the 3rd day, the bride is supposed to travel back to her old home to show her parents that she is well. But I did not have to travel. The general knew I was afraid of the bumpy carts and the large animals pulling them. So, he did something very kind. He sent his best, smoothest wooden cart to bring my parents here to our house instead. I put on a soft blue dress and walked out to the main hall. The house was beautiful. There were green trees, smooth gray stones, and quiet water ponds with little red fish swimming inside. When I stepped into the hall, my mother and father were already sitting there. My mother stood up quickly. She pulled me into a tight hug. She cried happy tears into my hair. Oh, my sweet girl, my mother said, holding my hands. You look so well. Your face has a good color. My father nodded with a wide, proud smile. This house is very grand. The general treats us with high honor. The tall general walked into the room. He wore simple dark clothes today, but he still looked very strong. He did not act like a proud war leader at all. He bowed his head low to my parents. Then he did something that surprised everyone. He did not ask the servants to serve the tea. He picked up the warm teapot himself. He poured hot, sweet tea into small cups for my mother and father with his own rough hands. When I walked toward my seat and almost tripped on the bottom of my long blue dress, he caught my arm gently. His touch was warm and firm. A good husband is not known by the size of his sword, but by the gentle way he holds his family. Then, a small voice broke the quiet sound of the room. Is this my new sister? I looked down. A young boy was hiding behind the general's tall leg. He looked about 10 years old. He had big, round eyes, soft pink cheeks, and a very cute smile. There was a small spot of dirt on his nose. This is my little brother Zhao, the general said. He took a cloth from his sleeve and wiped the dirt from the boy's nose. Zhao, say hello to my new wife. Zhao stepped forward. He gave a very deep, serious bow that made him look like a tiny old man. Then he looked up at me and smiled big, showing a small gap in his front teeth. Hello, I said, bending down a little to be closer to him. You are very cute. Zhao turned pink in the face, but he looked very happy. You are very pretty. Are you going to live here with us forever? I think so, I answered. I sat down and Zhao came to sit right next to me. We got along very well, very fast. While the adults talked about the weather and the town, Zhao and I became fast friends. Here are the rules we made for our new friendship. Rule 1. We will help each other hide green vegetables under our rice at dinner. Rule 2. We must give each other extra sweet cakes when the cooks are not looking. Rule 3. We agree that the general needs to smile much more often because he looks too serious. My brother is a great fighter, Zhao told me in a loud whisper, chewing happily on a soft bean cake. And he rides the biggest horse in the whole world. Did you see Black Wind? He is a giant. I am going to ride him when my legs are longer. I almost choked on my hot sweet tea. My mother quickly patted my back. Yes, I saw the animal, I said softly, looking up at the general. The general was watching me from across the room. He had a small, knowing smile on his face. He remembered how I hid in the box. He is a very good horse, Zhao said proudly. He eats big red apples right out of my hand. I am sure he does, I lied, trying to keep my voice flat and calm. But I like being inside the house with you and the sweet cakes much better. The general laughed his warm, deep laugh again. My parents smiled, happy to see us all getting along so easily. The general poured sweet tea and caught me when I tripped. Safe and cared for. Mother hugged me and cried happy tears. Loved and happy. Father smiled big and spoke kindly. Proud and calm. Brother Zhao shared his secret sweet cakes with me. Like I found a best friend. We sat together on the soft floor mats for a long time. The room was full of bright sunlight and warm, happy feelings. I looked at my happy parents, the cute little brother who was now holding my hand, and my handsome, kind husband. I took a deep breath. Yes, this new life was going to be all right. The people here were good and sweet. I just had to make sure I stayed inside the house forever. Chapter 2. For a whole week, my plan worked perfectly. I stayed deep inside the house. I wore my soft dresses, mostly in light pink and soft green, and sat by the quiet water ponds. I ate sweet cakes with little Zhao, and I read old books. The general was busy with his work during the day, but he always ate dinner with me. He was always kind, and he always stayed on his side of the red pillow wall at night. I felt very smart. I had beaten the system. If I never went outside the heavy wooden doors, I would never have to see that giant black beast again. Then, on a sunny afternoon, the general ruined my perfect plan. I was sitting in the main hall, trying to teach Zhao how to fold paper into little birds. The general walked in. He wore his dark clothes, and his dark eyes were bright. My lady, he said, holding out his large, scarred hand. The sun is very nice today. Will you come for a walk with me? I looked at his hand. Then I looked at the bright sunlight spilling onto the floor. A walk. Inside the house. In the outer garden, he said, giving me a soft smile. There are some new yellow flowers blooming. I think you would like them. Flowers. That sounded safe. Flowers do not have giant yellow teeth. Flowers do not snort hot air. All right, I agreed. I put down my paper bird and took his hand. We walked slowly. His steps were big, but he walked slowly to match my small steps. It was very romantic. The wind blew softly, and the air smelled like warm earth and sweet blooming trees. We walked past the stone paths, past the singing birds, and past the high brick walls. Then the smell changed. The sweet flower smell mixed with something else. It smelled like dry grass, old leather, and a very large, warm animal. My feet stopped moving. We had turned a corner, and there was no garden of yellow flowers. Instead, there was a large wooden fence. Behind the fence was a wide dirt yard. And standing in the middle of the yard, looking right at me, was Black Wind. The giant horse tossed his heavy head. Snort. I tried to pull my hand out of the general's grip, but he held it firm. He did not hurt me, but he did not let me go. You tricked me, I said, my voice shaking. Where are the yellow flowers? The general pointed with his free hand. Next to the wooden fence, there was a very small pot with 3 tiny yellow flowers in it. There they are, he said, his voice full of quiet laughter. But since we are already here, I want you to meet my oldest friend properly. I met him, I said, stepping backward and hiding behind the general's wide back. He is very big. He is very black. It is nice to meet him again from far away. Can we go back to the paper birds now? The general turned around and gently pulled me to the front. He reached into his sleeve. He did not pull out a sword or a sweet cake. He pulled out a large, bright orange carrot. Take this, he said, putting the rough orange root into my hand. I held the carrot like it was a hot coal. What do I do with this? I do not want to eat it raw. It is not for you, he said. He pointed at the giant horse. Black Wind had walked over to the fence. His huge head was hanging over the top wood piece. He was looking right at the carrot. His big, dark eyes seemed to say, "Give me the orange root, small human." No, I said loudly. No, no, no. My lady, listen to me, the general said, his voice very low and soft. He stood close behind me. His chest touched my back, and his arms wrapped around me to hold my shaking hands. He felt very warm and strong. Hold your hand out flat, like a small plate. Keep your fingers tightly together. He will only take the carrot. He is very gentle. He is a monster, I cried. He will eat my hand. He will eat my arm. He will eat me. I am right here, the general promised. I will not let him hurt you. Just hold out your hand. With his hands guiding mine, we slowly raised the carrot toward the fence. My heart was beating so fast I thought it would fly out of my mouth. Black Wind lowered his giant head. He opened his mouth. I saw his big, flat teeth. I saw his dark pink tongue. The hot wind from his nose blew right onto my fingers. It was wet and loud. Snuff, snort. His soft, hairy nose touched my palm. Oh! I screamed. I threw the carrot straight up into the air. I ripped my hands away from the general. I picked up the bottom of my pink and green dress, spun around and ran. I ran faster than a scared rabbit. I did not look back. I ran past the tiny yellow flowers, past the quiet ponds, and all the way back to the main hall. I hid under a large wooden table. A few minutes later, I heard slow, heavy footsteps. The general walked into the hall. He stopped near the table and looked down. I peeked out at him from under the wood. My hair was messy, and I was breathing hard. He bent down. He was holding the orange carrot. It had a giant bite taken out of it. He did not look angry. In fact, he had the biggest, brightest smile I had ever seen on his face. His dark eyes were dancing with joy. You run very fast, my lady, he said, trying hard not to laugh out loud. Black Wind says thank you for throwing the food into his mouth. Tell him he is not welcome, I said from under the table. And tell him I am never leaving this house again. The general just laughed, a rich, happy sound that filled the whole room. He sat down on the floor next to the table, crossed his long legs, and set the bitten carrot down. He waited there, smiling, until I felt brave enough to come out. Chapter 3. After the carrot day, I knew I needed a better plan. Running away every time was not good for my heart, and it made my soft dresses very dirty. If I was going to live in this giant home, I needed to know exactly where the beasts lived. That way, I could stay very, very far away from it. I asked my maids for a large piece of thick paper, some brushes, and some colored ink. Zhao came to help me. We sat together on the floor of my bedroom. I loved my room. It was very quiet, filled with soft cloths in blush pink, light sage green and warm cream colors. Looking at those soft colors always made me feel calm and safe. I wanted my new plan to look just as nice. What are we painting? Zhao asked, dipping a small brush into the water. We are making a picture of the whole house, I told him. I carefully painted a big square in the middle of the paper, using a warm cream color. This is the main house. It is the safe place. Then I used my favorite blush pink ink to paint the inner gardens and the kitchen where they baked the sweet cakes. Also very safe, I said, smiling at Zhao. I used the light sage green for the outer walking paths, where the tiny yellow flowers grew. Now, I said, putting down my colored brushes and picking up the thick, black ink. I looked at Zhao with very serious eyes. You must tell me exactly where the animal yard is. Do not leave out a single corner. Zhao pointed to the top right side of the paper. It is over there, behind the tall brick wall. I dipped my brush into the black ink. I painted a dark, heavy square on that part of the paper. Then, using a fine brush tip, I drew a small, ugly monster in the middle of the black square. I gave it angry eyes and a very large mouth with too many sharp teeth. Finally, I took red ink and drew a thick circle around the monster with a heavy line crossing right through it. Danger, I told Zhao, tapping the paper. A very high danger space. We must never go here. Zhao giggled and covered his mouth with his hands. Black Wind is not that ugly. He does not look like a monster. He is a very handsome horse. To you maybe, I said, blowing on the wet ink to dry it. To me he is a beast who wants to eat my fingers. Just then the wooden door opened. The general walked in. He had just finished his morning sword practice. He wore light clothes, and his dark hair was tied back. He looked very strong and very handsome. He saw us sitting on the floor and walked over, his steps making no sound on the wood. He looked down at my painted paper. What is this? It is my plan, I said proudly. So I never have to see your giant friend again. The general knelt down next to me. He was so close I could smell the fresh air and warm sun on his skin. He studied the cream, blush pink and sage green areas. Then his dark eyes stopped on the heavy black square and the ugly, toothy monster with the red line through it. His shoulders shook a little, but he kept his face completely flat. He was trying very hard not to laugh. I see, the general said, his voice deep and smooth. It is a very good picture. The pink gardens look very nice. But he reached out and tapped a blank space on the bottom left of the paper. You forgot the south gate, he said gently. Sometimes, the workers lead the horses through the south gate to take them to the river for a bath. I gasped. My eyes went wide. I quickly grabbed my brush, dipped it in the black ink, and painted another dark square over the south gate. I drew a second, smaller monster there just to be safe. Thank you for telling me, I said, putting my brush down. I will add the south gate to the danger list. The general finally smiled, that warm, bright smile that made my chest feel a little tight. He reached over and gently tucked a piece of loose hair behind my ear. His rough fingers felt very nice against my skin. You do not have to map the whole world, my lady, he said softly. If you want to walk in the gardens, just tell me. I will make sure the paths are clear for you. You will be safe. I looked down at my colored paper, and then up into his dark, kind eyes. Even though he owned a beast I could not stand, I knew he was telling the truth. He would always protect me. I know, I whispered back. But I am going to carry this map anyway. The general laughed, stood up, and pulled Zhao to his feet, telling him it was time for his lessons. I stayed on the floor for a little while longer, looking at my blush pink and cream safe zones, feeling very happy that the general was in them with me. Chapter 4. The warm days of spring arrived. The air lost its winter bite, and the trees grew small green leaves. In this ancient time, spring meant one very big thing for rich families: the spring trip. The general sat at the low dining table and told us the news. We were going to the Green Mountains for 3 days. Zhao jumped up and down. He spilled his rice on the floor because he was so happy. I will ride my own small horse, Zhao cheered. And brother will ride Black Wind, and we will run faster than the wind. My spoon stopped halfway to my mouth. I looked at the general. And how will I travel? I asked. My voice was very small. The general took a slow drink of his tea. His dark eyes watched my face carefully. You will ride in the fine travel cart. It is fast. 6 strong horses will pull it, so we can reach the mountains by the time the sun goes down. 6 horses. 6 giant beasts with heavy feet and big teeth. I put my spoon down. I see. That night, I could not sleep at all. I have always been someone who loves the deep, quiet hours of the night. Long after the rest of the house went to sleep, I sat wide awake on my side of the red pillow wall. The late night was my best time to think. I needed a plan. I could not sit in a box being pulled by 6 monsters. What if they ran away? What if they got hungry and turned around to look at me? By the time the sun came up, my plan was ready. When my maids came to dress me, I did not sit up. I placed my hand over my head. I let out a long, loud groan. Oh! I cried out, rolling side to side. My head. My stomach. I feel very, very bad. The maids ran out of the room. A minute later, the general walked in. He wore his thick riding clothes. He looked ready to fight a war or run up a mountain. He walked over to the bed and looked down at me. "You are sick?" he asked. His deep voice sounded a little worried, but his eyes were sharp. "Very sick," I whispered. I closed my eyes tight. I cannot go in the fast cart. The bouncing will make my stomach turn inside out. I think I must stay home. Or if I must go, I have to travel in the old, slow cart used for moving the heavy bags of grain. The one pulled by the slow, sleepy ox. It is the only way my stomach will survive. The slow grain cart took 2 whole days to reach the mountains. It was very far from the fast horses. It was perfectly safe. The general stood very still. He looked at my face, which was not pale at all. He looked at the empty plate of sweet cakes next to my bed that I had eaten during the late night. "I see," he said slowly. A small, hidden smile pulled at the corner of his mouth. "A very sudden sickness. It must be the spring air." "Yes," I agreed quickly. "The spring air is very bad for me." "Then we will do exactly as you ask," he said gently. "You will ride in the slow cart." I almost smiled, but I remembered to keep groaning. I had won. An hour later, the maids helped me out to the front yard. There it was. The heavy, slow cart made of dark wood. It was pulled by a large, sleepy brown ox that did not look like it wanted to move at all. Inside the cart, the maids had placed soft cushions in cream and blush pink colors to make it nice for me. I climbed inside and lay down on the soft cushions. I let out a happy sigh. I was safe. The fast horses would run ahead, and I would have a quiet, slow ride. The cart gave a heavy jerk and started to roll forward. It was moving slower than a person walking. It was wonderful. Then I heard a sound. Clop, clop, clop. It was the sound of very large, heavy hooves hitting the dirt road right next to my open window. A large dark shadow fell over my cart. I opened my eyes and looked out the window. Right there, not even an arm's length away, was the giant black leg of a war horse. I looked up. The general was sitting tall on Black Wind's back. The giant horse snorted, blowing hot air right into my cart. "What are you doing here?" I asked, sitting up fast. My stomach ache was completely gone. "You are supposed to ride ahead with the fast horses." The general looked down at me. The bright morning sun hit his face. He looked very handsome and very, very happy. "I am your husband," he said, his voice full of warm laughter. "It is my duty to stay by your side when you are sick. Black Wind and I will walk next to your slow cart for the whole 2 days. We will not leave you alone for a single minute." Black Wind let out a loud sound and showed his flat yellow teeth, as if he agreed. I fell back onto my cream cushions and covered my face with my hands. My perfect late-night plan had turned into a very long, very slow trap. The general had beaten me at my own game. Chapter 5. When we finally returned from the spring trip, I was very tired. Being watched by the giant war horse for 2 whole days had made my nerves feel like tight strings. To feel better, I sat on a stone bench in the quiet inner garden. I had a small wooden hook in my hand, and a basket of soft sheep's wool on my lap. I was using the hook to pull loops of blush pink and sage green wool together. I was making a soft, round hat with a wide brim, shaped a bit like a small bucket, to keep the sun off my face. Keeping my hands busy always made me feel calm. The wooden door to the garden opened. The general walked in. He did not have his sword, and he was wearing soft blue clothes that made his dark eyes look very warm. "My lady," he said, walking over to my bench. He looked at the pink and green wool in my hands. "You are making a hat?" "Yes," I said, not looking up. "A safe, quiet hat that does not snort or have large teeth." The general let out a soft sigh and sat down next to me. He was so big that he took up most of the stone bench. His arm rested right behind my back. I have been thinking, he said slowly. You truly cannot stand the sight of the big horses. The fear in your eyes on the trip. It was real. I do not want you to feel scared in your own home, or when we travel. I stopped pulling the wool with my hook. I looked at him. Are you sending the beasts away? No, he said, giving me a small, sad smile. Black Wind is a part of my duty. But I understand you cannot ride in the fast carts, and the slow ox cart is too slow. So, I found a middle path for you. He stood up and held out his hand. Come, I have a gift for you. I looked at his hand. I did not move. Is it an animal? It is very small, he promised. It is not a horse. I put my hook and my half-finished bucket hat into the basket. I took his hand. He led me not to the big dirt yard, but to a small green patch of grass near the kitchen. Standing in the middle of the grass was the strangest animal I had ever seen. It was gray and very fat. It was short, only coming up to my chest. It had a big head, sleepy eyes, and two very, very long ears that stuck straight up into the air. It was not moving at all. It just stood there, looking like a fuzzy gray rock. What is that? I asked, staying close to the general's side. It is a donkey, the general said. He looked very proud of himself. He is very slow. He is very lazy. His feet are small, and he does not run fast. He is the perfect travel animal for a lady who hates big horses. I looked at the donkey. The donkey looked at me. It slowly closed one eye, then opened it again. It looked like it was going to fall asleep right there on the grass. He does look very lazy, I said. I felt a tiny bit brave. Does he have a name? The man who sold him called him Bean, the general said. Bean, I repeated. It was a very good name for something so small and round. Zhao came running out of the kitchen. He was holding a fresh, sweet cake in his hand. Brother, is this the new animal? He is so small. Black Wind could step on him. Zhao, the general said in a warning tone. Do not speak of the big horse right now. Can I feed Bean a sweet cake? Zhao asked, holding out his hand. I decided I wanted to be brave. If Bean was going to be my travel animal, I should be the one to feed him. Let me try, Zhao, I said softly. I took the sweet cake from the little boy. I took one very slow step toward the gray donkey. Then another. The general stayed right behind me, his hands ready to catch me if I fell. Hello, Bean, I whispered. I held out my hand with the flat, sweet cake on it. I brought you a treat. Bean opened both of his sleepy eyes. He saw the cake. He stretched his big, gray head forward. He did not snort loudly like the giant beasts. He just let out a soft, low sound. He reached his head toward my hand. But he did not take the cake. Instead, he moved his mouth slightly to the left, opened his flat lips, and clamped his teeth down hard on the soft, flowing bottom of my blush pink silk dress. Then he started to chew. Hey, I yelled, dropping the sweet cake on the grass. I tried to pull my dress back. Let go. That is not food. Bean closed his eyes again, and kept chewing on the nice silk. He looked very happy. Zhao fell onto the grass, laughing so hard he held his stomach. The general stepped forward quickly. He was trying very hard to keep his face serious, but his shoulders were shaking. He reached down and placed his large hands on the sides of the donkey's mouth. Bean, the general said firmly, forcing the donkey's mouth open with gentle strength. You do not eat the lady's clothes. The donkey made a sad noise and let go of the wet, chewed-up silk. I stood back, holding my wet dress. I glared at the fat little animal. He is a monster too. Just a very short, lazy one. The general wiped his hands on his pants. He turned to me, and he could not hold his laugh in anymore. He laughed until his dark eyes shined in the sun. He reached out and gently took my hands in his. He is a bit silly, the general agreed, his voice warm and sweet. But he is your silly animal. And I promise he will never run away with you. I looked at Bean, who was now slowly eating the sweet cake off the grass. He was fat, lazy, and a dress eater. But he did not have giant teeth, and he did not scare me at all. Fine, I said, a small smile breaking on my face. I will keep Bean. But if he eats my green wool hat, we are having donkey soup for dinner. The general laughed again, and pulled me into a gentle hug. Right there in the sunny yard, with a dress-eating donkey and a laughing little brother, I felt my heart do a very fast, very happy skip. Chapter 6. The deep night has always been my best time. Even in my old life, long before the red wedding dress and the giant horses, I was a night owl. When the sun goes down and the whole world goes to sleep, the air changes. It becomes cool and still. It feels like a secret, quiet space just for me. In the general's big house, the nights were very dark. The maids lit soft paper lamps that glowed like warm little moons. One night, the air in my bedroom felt too warm. I could not sleep. I put on a light silk robe over my cream sleep clothes and walked softly out of my room. I went to the inner garden and sat by the water pond. The red fish were sleeping at the bottom. Everything was quiet. Then, I heard a soft footstep on the stone path. I looked up. The general was walking towards me. He wore a simple white robe, tied loosely at his waist. His long dark hair was not tied up in its tight top knot. It fell freely over his wide shoulders. Without his heavy armor and his Cold War face, he looked very different. He looked like a normal, very handsome man. "You are awake, my lady," he said softly, stopping near my stone bench. "I like the night," I told him, looking up at the bright stars. "It is very peaceful. Why are you awake?" He sat down next to me. He left a respectful space between us, but I could still feel the warmth coming from him. Sometimes my mind is too loud to sleep. The things I have seen, they stay with me in the dark. I looked at his hands. They rested on his knees. Even in the soft moonlight, I could see the thick white scars on his skin. He was a great hero to the people, but being a hero meant holding a heavy sword and fighting hard battles. "Tell me," I said gently. He looked at me in surprise. "My lady, war is not a pretty thing. The sounds are very loud. The sights are very bad. It is not a story for a soft lady who wears pink silk and makes green wool hats." "I may be soft," I said, putting my small hand over his large, scarred one. "And I may run away from your horse. But I am not weak inside. Tell me one story." The general took a slow breath. The night air seemed to take away his strong walls. He looked at the quiet water and began to speak. He did not use big words. He told me about the cold winter in the north. He told me how his men had no warm coats, so they slept close together to share their heat. He told me about a very fast fight in a narrow valley, where the sound of the wind was louder than the drums. He spoke of the heavy weight he carried. Knowing so many young men looked to him to bring them home safely. As he spoke, the cold, proud general faded away. I saw the true man underneath. He was kind, he was tired, and he cared very deeply for his people. When he finished his story, the garden was very quiet. "That was a very hard time," I said softly, giving his hand a small squeeze. "You are very brave. And you brought them home." The general looked down at our touching hands. A small, real smile touched his lips. "And what about you, my lady? What runs through your mind in these quiet hours?" I smiled back. I could not tell him the truth about my old life, about the big cities and the river I used to walk by. But I could tell him funny things. "Well," I said, thinking fast. I was thinking about a story of a very rich, very proud man who tried to win a race. "A race?" the general asked, leaning a little closer. "Yes," I nodded. But he was so proud of his beautiful long hair that he refused to tie it up. When he ran, the wind blew his hair completely over his face. He could not see anything at all. He ran right past the finish line, right out of the town gate, and straight into a giant pool of thick, wet mud. The general blinked. Then he let out a short, puffing sound. Then another. Soon his deep, warm laugh filled the quiet garden. He laughed so hard he had to put his head in his hands. "Into the mud?" he asked, still laughing. "Right into the mud," I promised. He looked like a giant brown frog. We sat in the garden for a long time. The moon moved slowly across the sky. He told me another story about his soldiers trying to cook an angry wild bird. And I told him a story about a woman who tried to sell painted rocks as magic stones. We talked, and we laughed. We did not speak of giant horses or my fear of the animal yard. We just spoke as two people sharing the quiet night. When my eyes finally grew heavy, the general stood up. He reached down and took my hand, helping me to my feet. He walked me to the door of my bedroom. "Good night, my lady," he said softly. His dark eyes were very gentle. "Thank you for the stories. My mind is quiet now." "Good night, General," I smiled. As I lay down on my soft pillows, I realized something new. I had fallen into the past, into a strange world filled with things that made me fearful. But as I thought of the general's warm laugh and his kind eyes, I knew I had also found something very special. We were becoming true friends. Chapter 7. The warm days of summer arrived. The general told me he had to go away for 5 days. He needed to visit a camp of soldiers near the edge of the country. "I will miss you, my lady," he said, holding my hands before he left. "Stay inside the safe walls. Do not let Bean eat any more of your dresses." I smiled and promised I would be good. I thought the 5 days would be very quiet and easy. I would read my books, play with little Zhao, and stay far away from the dirt yard. But on the 3rd night, a loud knock came at the main hall door. It was the head worker from the animal yard. He was an older man, and he looked very worried. He held his hat in his rough hands. "My lady," the old man said, bowing low, "I am sorry to bother you, but we have a big problem. It is Black Wind." My heart did a fast, hard beat. Did he break the fence? Did he run away? "No," the worker said sadly. "He is sick. Very sick. His stomach hurts a lot. He will not stand up, and he will not eat his sweet apples. The animal healer gave him medicine, but he is shaking. If he does not get through the night." The man stopped. He did not want to say the bad words. Little Zhao ran into the hall. He had heard the worker. The young boy had big tears running down his soft pink cheeks. "Sister," Zhao cried, grabbing my hand. "Black Wind is going to die. Brother will be so sad. He loves him so much." I stood completely still. My mind yelled at me to stay in the safe, clean rooms. The beast was huge. He was dangerous. But then I remembered the general's quiet voice in the garden. He is my oldest friend. I remembered his sad, tired eyes when he spoke of his hard times. I could not let his best friend die alone in the dirt. "Show me," I said, my voice shaking only a tiny bit. I followed the worker out to the dark yard. We walked right into the heavy black square on my paper map. The smell of dry grass and old leather was very strong. We went inside a large wooden building. There, lying on a thick bed of clean straw, was the giant monster. But he did not look like a monster tonight. Black Wind was lying flat on his side. His breathing was very fast and weak. His dark coat was wet with cold sweat. His huge eyes were half closed, and he let out a low, sad sound that broke my heart. "He is very cold," the animal healer said, standing nearby. "We must keep him warm and rub his stomach, or his heart will stop." "Then do it," I said. "We have been rubbing for hours, my lady," the old worker said, showing his tired, shaking hands. "We need rest or we will drop." I looked at the giant beast. He looked so small and weak lying on the ground. I took a deep breath, pulled up the long sleeves of my light green dress, and dropped down onto my knees in the dirty straw. "Bring me heavy blankets," I ordered the men. "And bring hot water." I placed my small, shaking hands on the giant horse's side. His skin felt very cold. I closed my eyes, trying not to think about his big teeth or his heavy feet. I just thought about the general's warm laugh. I rubbed the horse's side with thick cloths. I covered him with heavy blankets. For hours and hours, I did not stop. When my arms grew tired, I used my whole body to push and rub, keeping the blood moving in his big body. The night was very dark and long. Zhao sat on a wooden box nearby, falling fast asleep, but I stayed wide awake. "You have to live, you big ugly beast," I whispered into the horse's dark ear. "The general will cry if you die. And if he cries, I will be very angry with you." Black Wind let out a long, heavy breath. He opened one big brown eye and looked at me. For the first time, he did not look like he wanted to eat my fingers. He just looked tired and in pain. "I know," I said softly, petting his wet, hairy neck. "Just rest. I am right here." I sat in the dirty straw all night long, rubbing the giant horse, keeping him warm until the sun finally started to paint the sky with morning light. Chapter 8. The morning sun came through the small window of the wooden building. I was so tired that I had fallen fast asleep sitting right there on the ground. My nice green dress was completely ruined. It was covered in mud, dry yellow straw, and black horsehair. My arms felt like they were made of heavy stone. I woke up because something wet and rough touched my cheek. I slowly opened my eyes. Black Wind was standing up. He was not shaking anymore. He lowered his giant head, pushed his big, hairy nose against my face, and let out a soft, warm snort. I did not scream. I did not run away. I just let out a tired groan. "Stop that," I mumbled, wiping my dirty face. "Your nose is very wet." Just then, I heard the sound of heavy, fast footsteps outside. The big wooden doors of the animal building flew open with a loud bang. The general rushed inside. He still wore his dusty riding clothes. His face was pale, and his dark eyes were full of deep worry. Someone must have sent a fast rider to the camp to tell him his best friend was sick. He stopped completely still when he saw the room. He saw Black Wind, standing strong and eating a fresh red apple from the old worker's hand. And then he saw me. I was sitting in the dirty straw, looking like a messy street child, rubbing my sleepy eyes. "My lady?" the general asked. His deep voice sounded completely shocked. The old worker bowed to the general with a wide smile. "General, sir. The horse is well. Your lady stayed with him all through the long night. She rubbed his side and kept him warm when his blood ran cold. She saved his life." The general looked at me. He walked over very slowly. He did not go to his horse first. He only looked at me. He dropped down onto his knees right there in the dirty straw next to me. "You stayed," he said softly, his voice full of wonder. "You who hate him so much. You stayed in the dark with the beast." "He was making sad sounds," I said, looking down at my dirty hands. "I could not let him be sad. But my dress is completely ruined. And I smell very bad. I smell exactly like a horse." The general did not care about the dirt or the bad smell at all. He reached out and gently held my face in his large, warm hands. His thumbs softly wiped a spot of dark mud from my cheek. His dark eyes were shining with a feeling so bright it made my breath catch in my throat. "You are the bravest, kindest woman in the whole world," he whispered. Then he leaned in. He did not kiss my forehead or my hand. He pressed his warm lips right against mine. It was a very soft, very sweet kiss. It felt like warm sunshine breaking through the clouds after a long, cold night. My heart did a wild, happy jump. I closed my eyes and leaned into his strong hands. The dirt, the giant horse, and my ruined dress did not matter at all in that moment. Everything felt perfectly right. When he pulled away slowly, he rested his forehead against mine. He was smiling a very real, very big smile. Snort. Suddenly, Black Wind pushed his giant wet nose right into the back of the general's head. He pushed so hard he almost knocked the general right over onto my lap. The quiet, romantic moment broke into pieces. The general laughed out loud. And I could not help but laugh too. "I think he is saying thank you," the general smiled, looking back at the big horse. "Tell him he owes me a new green dress," I said, holding out my hands. The general took my hands and pulled me gently to my feet. He did not let go. He held my dirty hand tight in his clean one. "I will buy you 100 new green dresses," he promised, kissing the top of my hand. "Come. Let us get you into the warm house." Chapter 9. A few weeks after the long night with the sick horse, we had visitors. The general's large family came to the house for a big summer dinner. Most of them were very nice and smiled a lot. But there was one person who was not nice at all. Her name was Cousin Lin. Cousin Lin was a very proud woman. She wore too much shiny gold in her hair, and always spoke in a high, sweet voice that sounded entirely fake. She did not like me. I think she wanted the general to marry a tall, tough woman from a great war family, not a girl who liked to read books and make soft green hats. Here are the ways I knew Cousin Lin was mean. She was rude. She laughed out loud at my blush pink silk dresses. She was boring. She gave little Zhao a heavy book about numbers instead of bringing him a sweet bean cake. She was cruel. She pointed at my fat, lazy donkey Bean and called him a fat, gray street rat. "My dear cousin," Lin said to me after the dinner was over. We were walking near the animal yard. I was trying to stay near the safe garden gate, but she kept pulling my arm. "The general is a great hero. His wife cannot ride a street rat. It makes our proud family look very foolish." "Bean is a very good donkey," I said firmly, crossing my arms. "Nonsense," Lin said, waving her hand in the air. "I have told the workers to bring out a real horse for you. A true lady's horse. He is small, very old, and very slow. He is perfect for a beginner." A worker walked out holding a thick rope. At the end of the rope was a light gray horse. I looked at the animal very carefully. It was not as giant as Black Wind. It did not look like a huge monster. But it did not look old, and it certainly did not look sleepy. Its ears were pulled back tight against its head. Its eyes rolled around, showing a lot of white. Its feet kept stepping fast and hard in the dirt. "He looks very angry," I said, taking a quick step back. "Oh, do not be so silly," Cousin Lin laughed her high, fake laugh. He is just happy to be outside. Come. I will help you sit on his back. You just sit there. The worker will hold the rope tight. You will look very brave when the general walks out and sees you. I bit my lip. I wanted to be brave. I had saved Black Wind. The general had called me the bravest woman in the world, and he had kissed me. I wanted to make him proud in front of his snobby family. I wanted to prove I was not just a soft, fearful girl. Just sit. I asked, looking at the gray horse. Just sit, Lin promised, smiling her sweet, fake smile. I took a deep breath of the dusty air. I walked over. The worker held the horse's head very tight. I put my foot into the side metal loop. With a hard push from Lin, I climbed up and sat flat on the heavy leather seat on the horse's back. It was very high up. The ground looked very far away. My stomach did a sick flip. See. Lin clapped her hands together. You look like a true general's wife now. Okay, I did it. I am sitting. Now help me get down, I said. My hands were shaking. I grabbed the front of the hard leather seat with all my strength. Cousin Lin stepped close to the horse's back leg. Her sweet smile fell away, turning into a very mean, cold grin. Let us see how fast the great general's wife can truly ride, she whispered. Before I could say a word, Cousin Lin raised her hand and slapped the gray horse very hard right on its back leg. At the exact same time, she pushed her shoulder into the worker so hard that he dropped the heavy lead rope. The gray horse let out a loud, angry scream. It did not walk. It did not trot. It jumped high into the air with all 4 feet, and then it started to run fast and wild straight toward the open yard gates. Chapter 10. The wind hit my face like a hard wall. The gray horse ran faster than a flying arrow. My stomach dropped completely away. I wrapped my arms very tight around the horse's neck and hid my face in its light gray hair. Here are 3 things I learned very quickly about riding a running horse. It is very bouncy. My teeth hit together so hard I thought they would break. The ground looks very hard. Every time I looked down, the dirt moving below me made my head spin. Screaming takes a lot of air. It is very hard to yell when the wind is blowing right into your open mouth. But I screamed anyway. Help! Make it stop. General! The gray horse did not care. It just kept running wildly toward the open fields outside the house gates. I closed my eyes tight. I knew I was going to fall. I knew I was going to hit the hard dirt. Then, behind me, I heard a new sound. It was not a high, angry horse scream. It was a deep, wet, heavy snort. It was followed by the sound of huge, heavy feet hitting the dirt road. Thump, thump, thump. It sounded exactly like rolling thunder, moving very fast. Hold tight! A loud, deep voice yelled. It was the general. I opened one eye just a tiny bit. Right beside my wild gray horse was a giant black shadow. Black Wind was running beautifully. His long, thick legs were moving perfectly together. The general was sitting on the big horse's back. He did not look like the soft, kind man who laughed at my stories in the night garden. He looked like a fierce god of war. His face was completely hard, and his dark eyes were burning. But I knew the anger was not for me. Let go of the neck, the general shouted over the loud wind. Reach out your arms to me. Now. Let go? Was he crazy? If I let go, I would fall. But I looked at his wide, strong chest. I looked at his big hands reaching out for me. I trusted him much more than I feared the hard ground. I let go of the gray horse's neck. I reached out both of my shaking hands. The general moved with amazing speed. He grabbed me right around my waist with his thick, strong arms. With one powerful pulling lift, he took me completely off the back of the wild gray horse. I flew through the air for a short second. Oof! I landed hard against his strong chest. I was sitting sideways on the front of the giant leather seat, completely wrapped in the general's arms. He held me tightly against him, keeping me safe from the wind and the fast movement. With his free hand, the general pulled back gently on Black Wind's heavy rope. The giant black horse slowed down perfectly. He went from a fast run, to a bouncy trot, to a smooth, easy walk, and then to a complete stop. The wild gray horse just kept running away into the far green trees. I hid my face in the soft blue silk of the general's shirt. My whole body was shaking like a wet leaf in the cold. You are safe, the general whispered into my hair. He held the back of my head gently. His chest was moving up and down very fast. He had been very scared for me. I have you. You will not fall. A strong man catches you when you fall. A true hero makes sure you never hit the ground. I took a deep breath of the air. He smelled like warm sunshine and old tea. It was the best smell in the world. Slowly, I opened my eyes. I looked down. I saw a thick, black, hairy neck. I saw a long black mane. I realized exactly where I was sitting. I was sitting high up in the air, right on the back of the giant black monster. I was touching Black Wind. Strangely, I did not want to jump off. The big horse was standing completely still, just blowing quiet, warm air from his nose. He was not moving suddenly. He felt as solid and safe as a stone wall. "He saved you," the general said softly, seeing where my wide eyes were looking. "As soon as we heard you scream, Black Wind ran faster than he ever has in his whole life to reach you." I reached out one shaking finger. I gently touched the black hair on the horse's neck. It was very soft. "Thank you, Black Wind," I whispered. The giant horse let out a soft sound and moved his ears back to listen to me. The general turned Black Wind around, and we walked slowly back to the yard. When we got to the gates, Cousin Lin was still standing there. She had her hands over her mouth. The general stopped the big horse right in front of her. He looked down. His dark eyes were so cold they could freeze a summer river. "Pack your bags," the general told Cousin Lin. His voice was very quiet, but it was the scariest sound I had ever heard. "You are leaving my home right now, and you will never, ever come back." Cousin Lin turned as white as a ghost. She turned around and ran into the house as fast as she could. The general did not look at her again. He just held me closer to his heart, resting his chin on the top of my head while Black Wind carried us safely back into the yard. Chapter 11. The morning after the wild ride, my body felt very heavy and sore. My arms hurt from holding on so tight, and my legs felt like wobbly water. But my heart felt very light. I was safe in my room, wrapped in my soft blush pink blankets. I sat up and made a big choice. I had stayed up all night to save the giant horse's life, and yesterday, he had run fast to save mine. We had helped each other. It was time to stop being enemies. I got out of bed and put on a simple cream dress. I walked straight to the busy kitchen. I asked the old cook for the biggest, sweetest red apple they had in the food baskets. Holding the shiny red fruit in my hands, I walked out to the dirt yard. I did not need my painted paper map today. I knew exactly where I was going. When I reached the heavy wooden fence, the general was already there. He was holding a wooden brush, making Black Wind's dark hair shine in the warm morning sun. The general looked up and saw me standing by the fence. He stopped brushing. His eyes moved to the red apple in my hands. "Good morning, my lady," he said, his voice deep and smooth. "Are you feeling well today?" "I am very sore," I told him honestly. But I did not hit the hard dirt. I came to say thank you properly. I took a slow breath and stepped closer to the fence. Black Wind turned his huge head toward me. His big brown eyes looked at me calmly. He did not snort hot air, or stomp his heavy bone feet. He just watched me. "I still think you are far too big," I told the horse directly. "And you still have far too many teeth. But you run fast when it matters. So, thank you." I held out my hand, making it perfectly flat, just like the general had taught me on that very first day with the bitten orange root. The red apple sat in the exact middle of my palm. Black Wind lowered his giant head. He moved very slowly and carefully. His soft, hairy nose touched my hand. He opened his big mouth and gently picked up the apple. His big yellow teeth did not touch my skin at all. He closed his mouth and chewed the sweet fruit happily. I did not throw the apple. I did not run away. I did not hide under a heavy wooden table. Instead, I kept my hand right where it was. Slowly, I lifted my fingers and placed them right on the soft spot between his big brown eyes. I patted him. Once. Twice. His hair felt like warm, thick silk. He felt very solid and warm, like a living, breathing mountain. He smelled like fresh hay and earth, and it was not a bad smell at all. "There," I said, dropping my hand and taking a small step back. I looked at the general with a proud smile. "We are friends now." The general walked over and stopped right in front of me. The bright morning light caught the happy, proud look in his dark eyes. He reached out and gently pulled me into a warm hug. "I am very proud of you," he whispered against my hair. "You are very brave." "I am," I agreed, resting my head against his strong chest. "But Bean is still my main travel animal. Black Wind is strictly for fast escapes." The general laughed his wonderful, rich laugh, and Black Wind let out a soft sound as if he completely agreed. It was a very small piece, but it was real. And as I stood there in the strong arms of my kind husband, looking at the giant beast, I realized my great fear was finally melting away. Chapter 12. It was the time of falling red and yellow leaves. The air was cool, and the sky was a very bright blue. The general wanted to show me a special place. He said there was a high hill just outside the town gates where you could see the whole river shining in the sun. But the hill is too steep for the heavy wooden cart, he said, looking at me with a soft smile. And it is too far for you to walk in your nice shoes. I looked over at the green grass near the kitchen. My fat gray donkey was standing there. His eyes were closed, and his long ears were drooping down. He was fast asleep while standing completely still. Bean can take me, I said with a hopeful voice. The general laughed. Bean will take 3 days to walk up that hill, and he will stop to eat every single bush on the way. He reached out his hand. He pointed to the dirt yard. Black Wind was standing there, wearing his beautiful dark leather riding seat. He looked very clean and very tall. Ride with me, the general asked softly. Just this once. To see the river. I looked at the giant black horse. The horse looked back at me and chewed slowly on a piece of dry hay. He did not look like a monster anymore. He just looked like a very, very big friend. Will you hold me tight? I asked, my voice a little quiet. The general stepped close to me. He looked deep into my eyes. I will never let you go. I took a deep breath and nodded. We walked to the big horse. The general put his hands on my waist and lifted me up into the air as easily as if I were a small bird. He sat me sideways on the front part of the soft leather seat. Then, with one quick jump, he was sitting right behind me. His strong arms reached all the way around my body to hold the leather ropes. His chest was warm and firm against my back. I felt completely wrapped up in safety. Ready? He asked in my ear. Ready? I whispered. But I squeezed my eyes tightly shut anyway. Black Wind started to walk. It was a very big, rolling feeling. My body moved side to side with every heavy step the big horse took. But the general held me close. He moved with the horse, and he guided my body so I would not bounce too hard. You can open your eyes, my lady, he said after a little while. We are walking very slowly. I opened one eye, then the other. We were out of the town gates. The bright river was below us. The red and yellow leaves were falling like colorful snow. It was very high up, but looking at the world from up here was not scary. It was beautiful. I leaned my head back against the general's shoulder and smiled. I was riding the giant beast, and I was not afraid. Epilogue. 5 years have passed since I first woke up in the bumpy wooden box with the itchy red cloth on my head. This ancient world is my true home now. I do not miss my old life at all. The general is no longer just the proud, Cold War leader. To the soldiers, he is still a strong hero. But to me, he is my best friend, my protector, and my very loving husband. He smiles almost all the time now, and his deep laugh fills the whole house. Little Zhao has grown much taller. He finally got his wish. His legs grew long enough, and last week, he got to ride Black Wind all by himself. He talks about it every single day, and I am very happy for him. I still love my quiet hours in the deep night, sitting in the garden and sharing funny stories with my husband. I still wear my soft blush pink, warm cream, and light sage green dresses. I still spend my sunny afternoons using my wooden hook and soft sheep's wool to make little hats and warm blankets. Sometimes I even walk out to the dirt yard by myself. I bring a large, sweet red apple, and I share it with Black Wind. He is still a giant, but he is a gentle giant who always remembers to take the apple very softly from my flat hand. But when it is time to travel to the market, or when we go on our family trips to see the Green Mountains, I do not ride the giant war horse. I sit very happily on the back of my fat, lazy gray donkey. Bean is much rounder now, and he still tries to eat my dresses when I am not looking. The general walks right beside us, leading Black Wind with one hand, and holding my hand with the other. We walk slowly, we laugh together, and we live a very quiet, very happy life. Bonus chapter. It had been a very good, very peaceful year. I had spent so many sunny afternoons in the garden with my wooden hook that my room was completely full. There were soft bucket hats, warm hand covers, and thick blankets piled up like soft, colorful mountains. The general walked into our room one night and laughed. He had to step carefully over a large pile of blush pink and sage green wool just to reach his side of the bed. My lady, he said, his eyes shining with joy. You have made enough warm things to cover my entire army of soldiers. What will we do with all of this? I looked at my piles of soft work. I do not know. I just like keeping my hands busy. It makes my mind quiet. The general sat down next to me and held my hand. He had a very sweet idea. Why don't we share them? The winter is coming soon. The people in the town would love to have such soft, warm things. So with the general's help, we opened a tiny wooden shop near the town square. I was very picky about my materials. I only used the best wool in the whole land. It came from the special Ye sheep, known for their very thick, very fluffy coats. I made small hair ties, round bucket hats, and little bags in my favorite blush pink and cream colors. On the day the shop opened, I was very nervous. What if no one wanted my soft things? I sat behind the small wooden table. Bean, my fat gray donkey, was tied up outside. He was supposed to be a friendly face for the shop, but he was already fast asleep, leaning against the wall. Just as the sun climbed high, the door opened. But it was not a town person. It was the general. He had to bend his head down very low to fit through the small door. He looked far too huge for my tiny, soft shop. He was wearing his heavy riding clothes, and he brought a cold rush of wind in with him. "Good morning, shop owner," he smiled, walking over to my table. He picked up a small, sage green bucket hat with his large, scarred hands. "Are you trading mini coins today?" "You are my very first visitor," I said, feeling a little shy. "Then I must buy the best thing you have," he said seriously. He placed a heavy gold coin on the table. Then he took the small sage green hat and put it right on top of his head. It was far, far too small for him. It sat on the very top of his dark hair like a tiny green bird on a mountain. He looked completely silly. I put my hands over my mouth to hold in my loud laugh, but I could not stop it. I laughed until my sides hurt. "You look very handsome," I lied, wiping a happy tear from my eye. "But I think the hat is meant for little Zhao." "Nonsense," the general said proudly, keeping the tiny hat on his head. "It is perfect. And it matches my eyes." He walked out of the shop wearing the tiny green hat. As he walked through the town square, the town people saw their great, tough war hero wearing a soft, silly green hat made of Ye sheep's wool. They did not laugh at him. Instead, they smiled. They thought, if the great general likes these soft hats, we must have them too. By the time the sun went down, my shop was completely empty. I had traded every single hat, blanket, and hair tie. When I walked back to our large house, the general was waiting for me by the water pond. He was not wearing the tiny green hat anymore, but his warm smile was still there. "It was a good day?" he asked, opening his strong arms to me. "It was a very good day," I said, stepping into his hug and listening to his steady heartbeat. "But I think Bean ate 2 of my best pink hair ties this morning when I was not looking." The general laughed his loud, deep laugh. We stood together under the evening sky, and I knew that building this sweet, quiet life with him was the best work my hands had ever done. That's where this love story ends for now. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more romantic twists. Tell me in the comments what will you have done. Until the next story, keep craving romance.